All right, we're going to do Intro 5 print out of the packet today. And this is the first time we've done more than one type of feature together to put together more of a part, an actual part. So we're going to have different features on this part. We have a mill frame that goes around the outside, counter bore and a circle through the middle, an ellipse, which we haven't talked about yet. We'll do the ellipse block first, and then a mill frame that actually goes through the entire part. So to get started, we're going to go ahead and start our new program. So we're going to go to Program Manager, New, Conversational Program. I'm going to do my stock geometry. So I'll set up stock, click on Part Setup, More, Stock Geometry. It's going to be a box. I'm going to manually size it, and it is going to be a 5.4 by 5.4 square. And it is 0.89 thick. Front left corner of the part is 0, so I don't need to move that any. So we don't need anything for our reference positions. Let's go ahead and set up our tools. If we look in the upper right corner of the print, we have a tool list. We have a 3/4 inch center cutting end mill. So I'm going to start tool 1 here. I'm going to make it an end mill. 0.75. I'll skip the speeds and feeds and tool length. It's not necessary for just running graphics. Let's do tool 2. Tool 2 is a 1/2 inch center cutting end mill. So we'll do another end mill, 0.5. And now we have part set up, stock geometry done, tools are set up, and we're ready to begin programming. So the first thing we want to do is I'm going to go to the input screen, go to part programming, select milling, and we're going to do an ellipse. Ellipse is the one that we haven't talked about yet. It's very similar to a circle. It's asking for the center of this particular feature. If we look at our print, the center of this ellipse is at 0.88 plus 0.82. So we can put 0.88 plus 0.82. That gives us a 1.7. The center in Y is going to be 3.37 plus 0.47. 3.37 plus 0.47. So that's the center of where that ellipse is going to be. And now it's asking for an X radius and a Y radius. We're not actually talking about a radius as in the radius of a circle here. It wants to know half the height and half of the width of this particular ellipse in the X and the Y axis. So if you look at our print, the total length in X is 1.64, and it shows that half of that is 0.82. So our X radius will be 0.82, and our Y radius will be 0.47. The full height of the ellipse in Y is 0.94, half of that's 0.47. We're going to do a 0.1 for our Z start. We'll wrap it to a 0.1 above the part, and the Z depth is a negative 0.2. We're going to use the 1/2 inch end mill here. I'm going to just type in tool 2, and this is going to be a pocket boundary. I'll go ahead and spiral outward. 50% of the tool is fine. The feeds and speeds don't really matter because we're just cutting air or cutting in graphics. But again, had we put in some speeds and feeds with the tool, it would have brought that in with the tool, or we could add those in now. No need for a pec depth. If we hit the draw button now, we'll see we have an ellipse up here in the corner in the right location. So now we'll go ahead and we'll continue through finishing the rest of this part. So I'm going to go highlight block number, click on next block, and I'm going to do the 2 circles next, just because that's what I'm going to choose to do next. So I'm going to do a mill circle. The center of that mill circle is 2 inches in X, 1.84 in Y. The radius, we'll do the through hole first, and that is going to be, if we look over on our right view here, our cutaway view, it is a 2-inch diameter, 1.2 inch diameter all the way through. So we're going to do a 1.2 times 0.5, or divided by 2. Either way, to get us to 0.6. We're going to do 0.1 minus, we'll go 9, 10 to make sure we've passed through the part all the way. We use tool 2 for that, and we'll make that a pocket boundary. Probably would not want to do that all in one shot, so we're going to peck that, maybe 1/8 inch pecks all the way through. So that'll take care of that first circle. We'll go to our next block here. I'm going to do another mill circle. It's going to be at the same 0.2, 1.84 in Y. This radius is going to be a 2 inch, so it's a 1 inch radius. 0.1, and we're going to go down 0.4 for this counterbore. We use the same tool 2, and this is also going to be a pocket boundary. Now we could have went to our review screen, which is the yellow, blue, and red building blocks, copied block 1 and pasted it into block 2 and just changed a few of the features of it as well. We didn't have to reprogram the entire thing. But in this case, it was very simple to program. Well, let's just go ahead and do that. And again, we probably don't want to do that all in one shot, so maybe we'll do it in 2 pecks of 200 thousandths each. So that should give us a ellipse, a circle, and a counterbore. And it does. So next, we're going to go to highlight our block number, hit next block, and we'll do the frame around the outside. Now let's do the frame in the upper right corner, continuing to use this 1/2 inch end mill. We'll kind of plan around our tool changes that way. So we're going to do a mill frame. It wants to know one of the corners of the frame. Well, if I look at my print, I can actually find both the bottom left or upper right very easily from this print. I'm going to go with the bottom left theoretical corner. So where that corner would be if there wasn't a radius. So the x-axis location, at the very top of the print, you see that it is a 2.93. The y-axis, all the way over to the right side there, is a 2.95. So that is going to determine the bottom left corner of that frame. Now it wants to know the width in x, 1.3, and the height in y, 1.65. We'll do a 0.1. This is all the way through, minus 0.910. And the corner radiuses. Now we have a 0.5 typical in all 4 corners here, so we're just going to put a 0.5 radius in that field. Again, if we wanted to click on the corners radius or the corners tab, we could put a different radius or a chamfer or whatever on any one of those corners that we choose to. But in this case, they're all 4 the same, so we're just going to put it in this field here. Blending on and off at the bottom is okay. We don't need to pick a different side. I'm going to use tool 2 still for this. And again, it's going to be a pocket boundary. Once again, I'm going to put a peck depth in there. And we have an ellipse, our circle, and a counterbore. And we should have a frame going all the way through the part now. There we go. Now that just leaves us with the frame around the outside. So I'm going to go back to my screen here. I'm going to highlight the block 4. I'm going to go to next block. It's going to be a milling frame. I'm going to give the first corner, bottom left corner here, a 0.48. The Y will be a 0.48. The length in X is 4.17. the Y will be 4.36. It's on the far right side there, 4.36. We'll go 0.1. The depth of that is 0.4, so minus 0.4. And we have corner radiuses of 0.15 on all four. We'll use tool 1 this time, and we're going to do an outside profile. We'll also peck this 1/4 inch at a time, and we'll hit draw. So this should give us a frame all the way around. Now, because that diameter end mill wasn't large enough to clean up those 2 corners in the, actually 3 corners, we can change the profile type from outside to a profile outside. And that'll give us the ability to then put in this max offset. If we look at this print in a XY top-down view or a top view, I can measure from this finished feature, this little radius here on the frame, out to this corner. And that's how much material we need to remove. So that's actually how far we will start away from the finished profile as we step over. So I'm going to go to a 2-axis view, a top view in this case. I'm going to click the measure button. I'm going to hover my mouse. You can do this with a finger on the control or with a stylus. I'm going to hover, click, and drag out to that corner, let go, and you see that I get a value here of that measured distance. It's 1.032. I'm going to start 1 inch away. So I'll go back to my isometric view. And here in the block, that's the value I'm going to put in this max offset. I'm going to put 1 inch. What that will do, because we've set this as a profile outside now, it will then start 1 inch away, stepping over 50% of the diameter of the cutter every time until it has completed that entire frame. So if I speed this up a little bit and draw again, we'll get to see it start away from the part and start to move in a climb mill fashion until it has cleaned up that entire surface of the part until we have our finished feature. So that's Intro 5. Hopefully you picked up a couple of new things here and you are ready to move on for the next print.